Today is Monday, July the 27th, 2020. So this is my third video in the since October, and as of today, no justice has come. I've been looking for my I had triplets, Gregory, Malcolm, and Melina, at Grady Hospital on November 19, 2016, while being incarcerated at the Fulton County Women's Detention Center. There's a 2016 Atlanta Journal and Constitution article about a class action lawsuit against that jail for over 200 cases of minority women being treated cruel and inhumanely, to include no real running water, no showers, molded food, no sunlight, water all over the floors, toilets that didn't work, things like that. So I don't know if I'm included in it. I've talked to the attorney from the Southern Center of Human Rights regarding my situation, and I haven't heard anything. However, what's so is to give you some details. They're claiming that the reasons why I did not have triplets is because I was delusional and hallucinating. Although in my crisis, I live with bipolar 2 with psychosis. What psychosis means, well, first off, the psychosis came from a head injury. I was assaulted and robbed some years ago. And the psychosis will have me see things that aren't there. It will take me from managing multi-million-dollar projects, from putting artists on major concert tours, from being a very high-functioning member of society, to being homeless, sleeping outside, peeing myself, my hair being matted, unable to care for my day-to-days. In fact, my cameraman, who's quiet right now, one of those matted hair times, he had to shave my head bald just because I was in crisis. So, I can recall Lorenzo taking me to his wife's house or to his home, and his wife cooking me some of the best smothered pork chops that I ever had while I was in crisis. And he was on his way to Detroit. And so I was like, please let me go to Detroit. I can go to my uncles or to my brothers. They'll take care of me. They'll figure out how to get me some medicine. Because I knew I was sick, I knew I was pregnant, and I knew I needed some medication. And Dr. Wynn had taken me off my medication, and she refused to give me a crisis management plan, and she refused to put me back on medication. So I kept trying to find a way to get some medicine because I knew I needed it. And quickly, there was a time in which an officer Teresa from the Highland Club kept calling the police on me and having me arrested. I kept getting banned. I would sleep in 2 chairs outside of the Highland Club so that I wouldn't have to sleep on the concrete, or I'd sleep at the Happy Donuts on Moreland Ave because the owner would fix me some hot chocolate and give me a donut to eat so that I'd have a meal, or the guy at the gas station across the street from him would give me a cigarette or something because I chain smoke cigarettes when I'm in crisis. I smoke a pack a day. It soothes me. So she banned me from the Highland Club. There was this gentleman who rides a bicycle who had allowed me to use his phone to call my mother. My parents do have a house. However, I refused to let them take over guardianship of me. And because I wouldn't go home, or where they live in Alabama, there was nothing that they could do legally. And so my mom would just send some money, $50 here, $100 there, so that I could get a couple of meals to keep me and the babies fed. So the police officer was about to arrest me, and the guy was passing by, and he called my mom, and she talked to the officer and asked him if he would just take me to the hospital. And the officer took me to Grady Hospital. I had a duffel bag. I had a Sleepers for Suckers t-shirt on, gray with orange writing, that Silver had given me because Star, her wife, had taken me in. They picked me up in their, they have 2 cars, but they picked me up in their Honda and took me to their house for a couple of days. I remembered hallucinating in the middle of the night because Star had these long locks and she had cut her locks off and saved them. And in the middle of the night, I was like, oh my God, there's spiders everywhere, because I saw her locks just there. And I remember them calming me down and just making sure that I ate, making sure I had clothes, making sure that I wasn't sleeping in the streets. And so the officer took me to Grady, and he asked me if I wanted him to wait for me, and I told him no, I was okay. So they'd taken me to the examination room. After about 10 hours of sitting in there, 2 orderlies came in. They held me down by my throat, and the nurse came in and shot me in the arm with something. And then I remember waking up on this floor or in this room, and it was a co-ed room, and there was a guy about 3 feet away from me sleeping, and he was a young black guy, and he kept pulling his penis out and telling me to touch it. And so when they came around with the forms asking us if we would be willing to be used in medical research so that we could be moved to our own rooms and have hot meals instead of bologna sandwiches, I signed off on a form saying that I could be used for medical research. So when they moved me to that area, the nurse at the front, I kept calling her Lanika. She reminded me of Lanika, who went to high school with me. And she kept saying that's not who she is or whatever, but they look just alike. Even out of delusion, they looked alike. So I remember what the orderlies looked like. I remember some of their names. Not their names, but like I remember what they looked like, their hair. I remember the conversations that I had with them. And they had sent someone in to do an ultrasound, and she said that I was having twins. This whole stay is nowhere in my medical records. I was there for at least a month. They gave me, Dr. Wynn, who took me off my meds, sent over Haldol. She prescribed the Haldol to me. They gave me the Haldol. I took Haldol and prenatal pills home. I was staying with Al Bartel, who's running for Senate. He allowed me to call my girlfriend Mary over, who's an RN, and they sat and they looked at my prescription meds together. And we were trying to figure out why the prenatal pills looked the way that they did. I was like, prenatal pills aren't this color. And we didn't even know what the Haldol was. Al was like, if the doctor say you should take that, maybe you should take that. I was like, F this, I ain't taking this. I have a slick mouth. I'm outspoken. Sometimes I'm a little unruly, so I get it. But there was no reason for me in 9 months to be denied fresh air. I didn't go outside one time. In 9 months being in jail, not prison, for me to be locked down 4 and 5 weeks at a time without any interaction. When my son Gregory, so I have both of my boys back, my 15-year-old and my 3-year-old, Bryce and Gregory. So Gregory, Director Rhonda Scott from Grady, who, if in my videos you thought anything negative of her, I'd hope that's not the case, because she's a true advocate for people, and she was advocating for me continuously. So Director Rhonda Scott told the police, she kept advocating. When they had me handcuffed and the male officers were looking between my legs and everything else, she told them, she told them I shouldn't be shackled. She was like, well, where's she gonna go? Then she told them that I needed to be in the hospital 3 days so that my boys could be circumcised. I had Gregory, Malcolm, and Melina, 2 boys and 1 girl, in that order. And she told them to leave me there. And less than 2 days later, less than 48 hours later, they took me back to the cell. And she advocated. But my son Gregory just got circumcised last week. He's 3. He couldn't wear pants. He couldn't wear underwear. He had to get 8 stitches in his penis. I can't send him to daycare till next week because his daycare just opened back up. He's just now able to put on pants. And they say that when you're in psychosis and crisis, you don't know what's going on. I remember the people who treated me bad. I remember the people who were strangers. Thank you, Roderick Harden, for buying me lunch almost every day, and Demetrius, Flournoy with the locks for the $40 that he gave me. The stranger who got me the hotel room for the weekend off of La Vista Road and took me to the cookout to get something to eat, and to the Dollar Tree to get snacks so that I have snacks in my room, and June for buying me a room at, I think that was the Hyatt for the night, just so that I wouldn't sleep outside. Tyann, I remember going through this period being like, I'm Muslim, I ain't eating pork. And Tyann and Ron bringing me a pork sandwich and me cussing her all the way out for it. But they tried to take care of me and to make sure that I wasn't out there in the streets. So I'm real grateful. I'm grateful to all the people who have shared my other 2 videos. I was on Instagram one day and I saw my video in my feed from an organization out of New York. One of my friends had one of the videos and there were like over 700 views. So I know the word's getting out there. There was a girl, when they had me on that floor for the voluntarily committing myself for research, there was a girl with a beard and she was pregnant. She had a teenager and I was messing with her about that beard. Like, you need to cut that, you got to do something with that. Who got you pregnant with that beard? Are you really a man? Are you a transgender? How you got such a thick beard? That was my conversation with her. When I went to the Fulton County Women's Detention Center, she was there and she looked like a boy, and I kept calling her my brother Gary. I was like, my brother got a mole on his face like you do. And she gave birth and couldn't find her child. Then there was another girl who had these cornrows. She was from Dallas, Texas. She had on an orange jumpsuit. And these bitches at the jail, although I was talking trash, they handcuffed me and they put us in the paddy wagon together, and they gave her some handcuffs. And she hit me across the face, and I remember being in the back, and I spit on her, and I took my handcuffs and I was trying to choke her with them because she had slapped me across the face with some handcuffs and had broke some skin in my face. So I was trying to choke her out with those handcuffs. And she had just given birth. She had her the footprints on her. And when I gave birth, although I was going back to my cell, one of the male officers took my folder from Grady and told me that they would put it with my paperwork, that they would put it with my personal property, and when I'd be released, I'd get that. But they wouldn't even let me look at the birth certificates or anything. And when I made it to Georgia Regional, they were charging me, I was facing 20 years. They dead docketed my charges. They had me voluntarily commit myself, and Clayton County charged me with the same charges twice. I have 2 misdemeanors on my record, one for criminal trespass and one for obstruction of justice. But the first time, Judge Brown sentenced me to a year. And then when they came and got me for Fulton County, I thought that was part of the year. It wasn't until I was stabilized at Georgia Regional where I realized it was a whole different set of charges. And they had me classified as homeless, and they kept saying, well, you're homeless. I'm like, bitch, it's been a year and a half. You'd be homeless too. Like, who gets locked up, falls off the face of the earth? Who am I supposed to call? Y'all haven't even given me a first phone call. I didn't get a phone call until 2 months at Georgia Regional because their phones were broken. And one of the African floor technicians with the red hair, she knows who she is, with the red short bob, was like, Miss Shantae, you can use the phone in the hallway. So that's how I was able to use the phone, because she told me, and she took me out to the hallway to use the phone so that I could call my mother and let them know that I was still alive and safe. But the first attorney that they said was my attorney wasn't even my attorney. And then the next one called the alleged victim, and I guess she didn't want to press charges. She didn't know who I was, so they were like, your charges have been dead docketed. You're free to go home. I was facing 20 years in prison for aggravated assault, terroristic threats, and possession of a knife and the commencement of a felony. And During this time at Georgia Regional, when they found out my charges were dead doctored, Brenda Bolligrew had me sign a form, voluntarily commit myself. And her name and Dr. Bashir's name was on the form. And they were saying that they were trying to get my charges in Clayton County dead docketed. I was like, well, my charges in Clayton County are real charges. I don't know where the hell these Fulton County charges came from. So they took me, they transported me back to Clayton County. Clayton County had an arrest for a warrant out for my arrest. I had a $7,500 bond for a criminal trespassing charge because they couldn't find me. They thought that I had bonded out, and all that happened was Fulton County picked me up and were just holding me. And I don't even know why they were holding me. And then when I went back to Clayton County, they charged me again for the same charges. But I had an attorney who was like, just listen to whatever I say. Whatever I tell you to say, that's what you say. When I tell you to speak, that's when you speak. And I was just ready to go. It had been almost 2 years between Fulton County, Clayton County, and Georgia Regional. So I pled nolo to criminal trespassing and obstruction of justice, which both are on my record. And that's double jeopardy. You can't try me twice for the same crime. Like, where did I learn that in criminal communication law? Not even real practice. Like, you can't try people twice for the same charge. But anyways, this is my third video. I'm grateful for all of the support I've had in people sharing the other two videos. I still need that support. I'm asking and requesting for you to share with any of your friends, for you to start the dialogue about human trafficking. If you are any of the 4 or 5 women, there was another woman who was pregnant. She hadn't delivered in the jail with me. There was one article back in 2016 by the Atlanta Journal and Constitution written about how there was a class action lawsuit against the jail from the Southern Center for Human Rights regarding over 200 minority women with mental health being treated cruel and inhumanely. The Southern Center for Human Rights was going against Chairman Rob Pitts and arguing and advocating and protesting for him to do something about the jail. Irony is, I worked for Rob. 2 months after being released, I was his campaign manager assistant. So I went to the cigar bars with Rob. Rob knows my story. He's done nothing about it. And I will say that because if he did do something about it, my kids would be looked into. And so if that's slanderous or anything, so be it, because we've had the conversation. And there's pictures to prove this. So it's been 3 years. My son is 3 years old right now. Nothing's happened. There's been no one looking into this matter. So I'm just asking for justice. I'm asking for you to spread the word. I'm asking for someone to just take the time to look into these babies being sold from that jail or wherever they're being sold from. So the doctor who wouldn't give me my medication and wouldn't give me a crisis management plan and would not see me when I was off my medication, although I was calling. I called from the payphone to my mother's phone several times where I could find her. I'm sure my mom can get her phone records pulled up because I called the house phone. I tried to schedule an appointment with Dr. Woods. They said it would be 2 months. That was the earliest that someone could give me prescription medication. But then Dr. Wynn started sending over Haldol, where I've never been prescribed Haldol, never been checked to see if that medication worked with me, never been checked to see if I was actually schizophrenic or bipolar. And the doctor that was administering the medicine to me, when it was time for me to deliver, he was there trying to give me medicine. And I was like, oh, hell no. He had me on that floor. They tried to give me that stuff to kill me because I was in psychosis. So I thought they were still trying to kill me, but I was like, no. And in my medical records, they put that I denied medication instead of me denying getting medication from that doctor. So I just think that it's not a coincidence that, like, I'm giving birth in the middle of the night and we have a psychiatrist or a medication management pharmacist. I don't know what his title was, but someone he wasn't a nurse, but someone prescribing medication and handling medication management in the middle of the night and no meds were ever given to me. I didn't even get a physical. I denied the same lady that Dr. Rhonda Scott said that did not have to look at me and examine me and deliver my babies. She tried to examine me 6 months later, and I denied her examining me. And they put me back in the cell. And because I wouldn't let that white lady with no scrubs on, no hospital coat, no ID, she was wearing brown corduroys and some kind of floral shirt. She had blonde hair, but she didn't have, I was like, where's your credentials? If you're a nurse or a doctor, you should have a badge. Why don't you have on a coat? I'm not about to spread my legs and let you go between them, and you don't even have any credentials. So when I did that, they refused to allow me to get a checkup. I didn't get a physical until I made it to Georgia Regional. So I'm giving you more details because obviously, hopefully, that's what it'll take. I'm asking and requesting that someone, whether it's a lawyer, a member of the media, anyone who hears my story, to share it. Take the time to look into it. If you are one of the 5 women, there were about 5 of us minority women who were pregnant at the same time. There was one, I kept calling her Baby D because I don't know who the hell got her pregnant. She used to give me water because they wouldn't even give me any water, but she had a big tattoo on her neck, and I used to call him my brother because she looked like a boy. And she kept saying, I'm a girl, I ain't a boy. And I kept saying, stop lying, Gary. That's my brother's name. You a boy. But she would bring me water every day. And thank you, Officer Jones, for bringing me those cabbage and that beans and the chocolate shake. It was in April or May, right before they sent me to Georgia Regional, after I gave birth to Gregory in November. Although in August, when I went before the judge, I was like 2 centimeters dilated. They just left me in the cell. And when I went to give birth, I couldn't even close my legs. So thank you for bringing me my first hot meal. And my name is Shantae McLaughlin. My email is shantae1979@gmail.com. My cell phone is 404-709-5148. Thank you for your time.